So I've already made a video talking about how I do think that losing Earl Thomas is going to affect Baltimore. I figured I could make another video sort of trying to figure out exactly where maybe he should go or what teams should be interested in getting him. So I have a top 5 list of the teams that I think should try and get Earl Thomas, or maybe I'll just say will try and get Earl Thomas, the ones that make the most sense to me. However, just before I do that, I want to talk about one other thing, and that's that the fact that all of a sudden there's this narrative that Earl Thomas isn't good anymore. It's just absurd to me, and I'm not gonna do a whole video about that just now. I might later, maybe when he gets signed, I'll make a video about it. But like, take a look at this play, for example. It's gonna be a cover 3 zone. And the route concept that Miami has is actually really good against this type of coverage. You're having 3 players run deep. One's a tight end, one's a wide receiver, and one's a halfback. But what makes this work is that, tight end runs into the middle of the field. That's Earl Thomas's zone, obviously, as the free safety. You also have another receiver run deep who's going to take the corner deep. And then you have the halfback kind of trail him, and there should be a gap that he can get open. The only exception would be if someone, basically if a Baltimore player who's in charge of covering the middle of the field realizes what's going on and stays deep. That's typically how this play can work. Usually your safety isn't even in this play, so I might be curious as to why I'm showing it right now. And after the ball is snapped, you notice that the Baltimore player covering the middle of the field does not stay deep, meaning that Fitzpatrick, who is the quarterback right now, he's saying, okay, great, I can make a throw. This can work, absolutely. And obviously, Fitzpatrick, not a dumb guy. As every commentator likes to remind you, he went to Harvard. But if you look at Earl Thomas, who's in the black circle, he's reading this play. He realizes what's going on, and he's getting in position to try to take this route away. This is insane. Like, I think I want to be really clear on how crazy it is that he's doing this. He has his own player to worry about, and on top of it, what's actually happening and what's making this play work is on the complete opposite side of the field, but he is still able to make this read, run over, and get the interception. I mean, that's just an insanely good play, and there's maybe 1 or 2 other guys in the league that can make that play, maybe. I mean, that's just insane, and there are plays that Thomas makes that little, if anybody, would also make. I'm not going to sit here and say he's the same guy he was in Seattle, but I do think that the drop-off has been a lot smaller than a lot of people realize. At the end of the day, for a safety, positioning is the number one thing, and he still gets himself in great position and can make plays like that. So again, if your reasoning for why you don't want your favorite team to get Earl Thomas, you think it would be too much money, or perhaps you just don't like, you don't like the locker room presence, well, then that's fine. Then we can, that's a fair discussion and that's a fair reasoning. But if your reasoning is you don't think he's good, that's just not true, because his talent is there. Also, I need to mention that if you listen to my podcast I recorded yesterday, you have probably heard a good amount of my thoughts. I already listed the 5 teams that I think that he might go to on there, but I put them in order and kind of expanded on them in this video and kind of, try to add more stuff. So I'm not just rehashing the same thing, but also, yeah, it's a lot of what's in there. So, but I figure, more people watch the videos than the podcast, so I figure I could make a whole video on it. I think there's enough content there. So, okay, without further ado, let's just get into it, and let's start off with my number 5 team. I think the team 5th most likely to get Earl Thomas. I am going to go with Houston right here. Houston, they have $21 million in cap space. I think this would make a lot of sense. I think they could use a safety, so I think this works out. This is a pretty good fit, in my opinion. Listen, their secondary, they have some players, but, with Justin Reed, I really like Jalen Watkins, who's the lesser-known Watkins brother. I feel like he's more of like a 3 guy, so if they were to get Earl Thomas, you could have Reed sort of be in that strong safety role primarily, and have, even though I think he can do both, but you can then have Thomas be the free safety. I think the fit is good. The reason why I have it so low, though, is simply just because it seems like they don't want him. Obviously Kenny Stills had that quote where when someone asked about adding Earl Thomas, he just said, nah, we're good. I feel like it makes sense, but I just think they don't want him. So that's why they're 5th, even though logically I think it would make sense to me. And we've seen this before. They got rid of DeAndre Hopkins, so maybe they do have a very high standard. Not that Hopkins has ever punched a teammate or anything like that, but maybe, maybe there was... What I'm trying to say is that it seems like there's been some weird character decision personnel moves by Bill O'Brien. So adding someone who has actually had some significant personnel things. That makes sense to me. For number 4, I'm going to go Philadelphia here. I think Philadelphia could really use a safety. I don't want to say really use a safety, but they could definitely use a safety, and adding Thomas would definitely be an upgrade. Again, this is kind of another thing where I feel like this move, there is definite logic behind it, and it seems like the main reason why it won't happen is it just seems like Philadelphia doesn't want him. They have $24 million in cap space, so again, they could afford him if they decide they want him. But it seems like this is another locker room that they don't like to have people who have some character concerns. And again, I do think that, I'm not sure how much of his character concerns are. I know he's been getting compared to Antonio Brown. I think that's a bit far, definitely a bit far. But again, I'm not sure if that's really. I'm not sure if that's the move they want to make. I was looking at Eagles Reddit, and they seem to very much not want him. So it seems like they value character. Personally, I think just grab your talented guy. But if that's what they value, then that's what they value. Number 3 here, I am going with the team that, of course, has to be in the running, the Dallas Cowboys. Really, I think that the Cowboys, I actually don't know if I love this fit so much. I mean, I don't know if they need a safety. In my opinion, they don't. And also, it seems like a lot of what they've been trying to do is make their defense less predictable. And for all the things that Earl Thomas does well, he does make the defense, more predictable to some degree. You pretty much know where he's going to be on the field. That being said, you can definitely still be creative, even if the team knows that Earl Thomas is going to be a free safety, and I think he does more good than bad. But I think it's kind of going against what they're trying to do. So I don't know if I actually love the fit, but again, we know they've definitely talked with each other before in the past. It's another team that could afford him, not as much as some of these other teams, but they do have $14 million in cap space, so this I can definitely see. For number 2, I'm going for San Francisco. The San Francisco 49ers, I think they could potentially use a safety. I don't think they desperately need one, but I think Thomas would be an upgrade. They have $14 million, they have $12 million, so they kind of are, again, I don't know exactly how much Thomas is actually going to be asking for. My guess is that there's probably going to be some sort of deal with pretty much no guaranteed money, maybe even literally no guaranteed money, so that way they can, try to get the low risk of, not have to worry about it if they lose him. I know John Lynch does take integrity very seriously, but again, I think what really the end here would be if you have Richard Sherman put in a good word for him. If Sherman were to do that, I think that San Francisco says, okay, well, if we trust Sherman, he says he's good, we'll bring him on. I think that would sort of be the end, so that's why I have them at number 2. And finally, number 1, isn't this just the most New England Patriots signing ever? They go out and they get Earl Thomas, as everyone thinks he's washed up, and he's able to have some good years of them. It's the most New England Patriots signing ever. They have cap space because of all of the opt-outs that they had. In fact, with all the cap space they have, they could have afforded Tom Brady. I mean, I'm not sure if that's what they wanted to do, but New England, they had the second most cap space this year because of all of the opt-outs. So, and even the year after, they have the 4th most. So they're in a pretty good position where they could definitely afford to pay him, and they could pay him a decent amount, and they could pay him some guarantees if they want to. They definitely have the cap space. They obviously have a history of getting guys who nobody thought would ever buy into a certain system. So I think that's pretty good. I think that they play, it's basically the same defense that Baltimore plays. They play very similar styles. So I do think he can be effective in that defense. And I also think they wouldn't be afraid to get rid of him if they have to. I mean, we saw with Antonio Brown. After one game, they said, we're going to get rid of him. So I don't know. I think this makes the most sense for me. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Where do you think Earl Thomas is going? Those are the 5 that I think. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.